Hi, I'm Angie Austin with Oil and Gas 360, and we are at EnerCom's 2016 Oil and Gas Conference, the 21st year of that conference. And we are joined by the Honorable Elizabeth Ames Coleman, and she is a partner, Energy North America, and former chair of the Texas Railroad Commission. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Angie.
You are welcome.
Great to be here.
All right, you have a long family history in the oil and gas industry, I understand. Can you talk about that, what it was like growing up in the industry?
Well, you know, Greg had a great introduction, and I'd love to go down memory lane because it's so meaningful to me. But, you know, I'm fifth generation of a sixth generation family who've been in the oil patch.
Really?
And that means that we even have children who are also son-in-law and nephews, and my son who are involved in the oil and gas industry. But we go very far back. And my great-granddaddy, actually, the agency you mentioned, the Texas Railroad Commission, he sued the Railroad Commission and won a little injunction against the agency. And I was elected to this great oil and gas regulatory agency, and I'm sure he was smiling down at me from heaven, or maybe laughing,
right,
one or the other. But yes, we have been involved in this industry in many different states, not just in Texas, for all these generations. So I have a keen understanding of what it means to suffer through a downturn, to celebrate a discovery, and you know, just how to get a well drilled.
Excellent. All right, you were elected, as you mentioned, as the first female chair of the Texas Railroad Commission. When you were on the commission, what did you like about being on that commission?
Well, and I would say that just a little bit of a tweak, because I want to be accurate, and it's a little confusing. I was elected to the commission, and then the commissioners, there are three of us, elect a chairman. And if you can convince one or hopefully two of your colleagues to elect you chairman, you then serve in that position.
I see.
And I did serve 2 times as chairman in my 7-year tenure.
Nice.
But the Railroad Commission is an agency that is basically really the Supreme Court of oil and gas law and regulation in the state of Texas. And because Texas is the number 1 oil and gas producer in the United States,
right,
the agency that regulates that industry it's got pretty much clout. Mm-hmm. And so having the opportunity to serve my state, my fellow men and women in that arena meant so much to me, and to be elected by the people of the state of Texas.
Yeah, quite an honor.
So.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about your point of view. From your point of view, how is the industry positioned today compared to when you were chair of the Texas Railroad Commission?
How is the industry different today?
Yeah, how is the industry positioned today
yeah,
compared to when you were the chair?
Well, at the time, and I left the agency in 2012. And
so not that long ago.
No. And so I've remained involved, of course, and my husband and I, our company, stays involved, but now from a different perspective.
Right.
Instead of the referee or the regulator, which I believe I did in a meaningful way, we are now advocates for this industry in the halls of government, but also in the halls of other companies. And you know, what we have seen since 2012, this devastating downturn, which I spoke a little bit about today, which is a result really of the economics of our country, energy policy and economic policy that has crippled this industry that has originated from in the halls of Washington. This kind of economic policy that has, you know, kept this country from growing, and people are needing to have the energy resources that they used to have. So now we've got this depressed oil prices, but the patch is handling it pretty well. And what I spoke about today is how important it is to have let the best use of this energy supply renaissance, the best use of it is to supply a growing American economy. And we've got to get government out of the onerous regulatory environment that they've made up there in Washington, but also our financials. We've got to stop overtaxing people, free up some money, let entrepreneurs go do what they do, and that's build companies. And energy entrepreneurs drill wells.
Right.
So I've been pretty outspoken on that front.
Well, let's talk about some challenges. What are some of the unique challenges of working with energy companies as you help them navigate state and federal policy issues at Energy North America in particular?
Well, the challenges are that today the federal government is so dysfunctional. Even their own administrative processes, they don't abide by. Things they've thought up. It's so fluid, they just change direction, effectively with the wind. You think you're doing just the right thing, but somebody new comes and on board in one of these federal agencies, and they have a different opinion how things should be done.
Lots to
There's
navigate.
no leadership.
Yeah.
No leadership. There's no CEO of an agency who's, ensuring that from top to bottom they're following their own internal codes, not to mention the law and the federal statute. So, Washington and agency mission creep, as we call it, trying to take more and more jurisdiction, just plain old people. And they're smart people and they're nice people. But they may not be educated in this field, and they certainly are not thinking about trade and commerce and what their delay tactics are doing to business and industry. And the costs and private funds and private monies that are invested in these companies, they're just about ready, I think, as I said today, please tell me what commerce the American government, who they're for, because it's not American business. And of course, some of the regulations have certainly enabled oil and gas producing nations offshore to as I said, to flood the market at the expense of American producers and our domestic oil industry. But it kind of makes me mad, There are lots of challenges, so it's unique to every company, and
Right.
we just try and help the best we can.
Now, you mentioned your presentation. In your presentation today, you suggested that the U.S. should require an environmental impact statement for every barrel of crude oil we import. That's a bold proposal, so what would the effect be?
Yes, and it makes so much sense because, the administration today, and of course, obviously, when you win an election, the consequences are that you also put in your administration in all the various agencies.
Right.
So I would assume that they're pretty much all the same. But, by releasing Iranian oil and helping the Iranian oil company and that crude oil come into the market with such ease, I made one proposition that wouldn't it be nice if American oil producers could have the same kind of understanding from our federal government that the Iranians did. But also, not so much that, but that when that crude oil from wherever comes into the United States, our crude oil to go out, to to build an export facility. Environmental impact statements. You have to go wait in line. Forget that you may have a great market and ready to go and private investors lined up. No, that doesn't matter, because we've got to make sure that some I's that don't exist are dotted and T's are crossed. That's what goes on at the federal level, and the hoops that they make American producers jump through to export hydrocarbons, including natural gas and oil. I don't get it. Why ones abroad coming in shouldn't be subject to the same hoops that we have to go through. And after all, you know, it is considered global climate change. So if it's so important to us, then what goes on environmentally across the globe ought to be important to us also. Otherwise, it's somewhat hypocritical, if you ask me. So I just think it's only fair. An environmental impact statement, request a permit from the Department of Energy to import yours, and let the Department of Energy put it in their administrative process and put it through the same standards that they put our American producers through, so that we can ensure we can really be meaningful when we talk about affecting the global environment in a positive way.
Wonderful. And you've enjoyed the conference?
I have.
Good.
I'm very, very excited to be here, and wish I could have come sooner, and the years passed, and look forward and hope to come back again.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth,
Thank you,
very
Angie,
much.
very much.
Again, the Honorable Elizabeth Ames Coleman, Partner, Energy North America, and also former chair with the Texas Railroad Commission, and I am Angie Austin with Oil and Gas 360. Thanks for joining us.